Have you ever started a game and know you're up for a truly memorable adventure right when you start up the game and just look at the title screen? All three of the mainline Xenoblade games have done that for me. I don't know how to explain it, it just feels special. Listening to the music and looking off into the horizon really does instill a feeling of adventure in you. It's indescribable. That's what I love about the Xenoblade Chronicles series. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 has been out for almost a month now, and I have a lot that I want to say. Hey guys, Nish Quick here. After almost a year of waiting, once the leaks and rumors and all that started, we're here finally with Xenoblade 3. It's been about a month or so since release, and I've played it and enjoyed it, and I have a lot of thoughts, and I'm going to share all that with you today in my Xenoblade Chronicles 3 review. So let's get started. There's a lot I want to say. So does this game really live up to the hype? How does this game compare to the other Xenoblade Chronicles entries, Xenoblade 1, Xenoblade 2, and finally, is this a worthy first-party Nintendo Switch title and a great Nintendo Switch JRPG? I'll be answering all those questions, and plus I'll be talking about much more in this video, so stick around till the end to hear all my thoughts and opinions about Xenoblade 3. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Just a disclaimer as well, there will be some very mild gameplay and location spoilers, no story spoilers whatsoever, so don't worry about that. And I will be talking more about actual story, gameplay, location, OST spoilers later on in a spoiler dedicated video, so stay tuned for that later on. And yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Xenoblade 3 review, let's go. And just a reminder, if you enjoy videos on game analysis, reviews, usability, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, Nish Quick Pops, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on a single video. And without further ado, let me present to you my review on Xenoblade Chronicles 3 for the Nintendo Switch. So before I delve into Xenoblade 3's story, I just want to say what I enjoyed from the stories of the other mainline games. Xenoblade 1 had a very well-structured narrative. Xenoblade 1 has a very good Freytag's pyramid, if you know what I mean. Phenomenal inciting incident, gripping rising action, and of course, an emotional and impactful climax and resolution. Xenoblade 2 shines in its world building, I feel. The world building of 2 is very in-depth when it comes to the blade driver system, history of the Titans, and of course the connections to the rest of the Xenoblade mythos. Xenoblade 2 also has some very emotional and powerful moments that in my opinion surpass some of the emotional moments in Xenoblade 1. Xenoblade 3 has the amazing and gripping narrative structure of Xenoblade 1, but also the emotional gravitas and interesting world building of Xenoblade 2. Basically, one of the best video game stories I've ever experienced. The world of Ionios is locked in a vicious war between the nations of Kevis and Agnes. Both sides mercilessly kill each other to steal the life force of their enemies, fueling their own Pharaonis' flame clocks. This endless cycle of war is questioned and challenged by a group of 6 soldiers, 3 from each opposing nation. They encounter each other during a chance occurrence and soon band together to liberate the colonies and world of Ionios with the power of Ouroboros to stop the raging war. The story of this game is dark, melancholy, and full of war and destruction. Very mature for a Nintendo published game. Xenoblade 3 explores themes of life purpose, the fragility of existence, sacrifice, love, and so many other serious themes. But it's not always all doom and gloom. There's some genuinely wholesome moments in the game, like the bonding of the party members, and some really fun interactions between the supporting characters that lightens the mood. All in all, it's a hopeful story. You're always eager to witness the characters' accomplishments and life-changing epiphanies and revelations. So I talked so much about this narrative and why it's so good and everything, right? But honestly, this narrative wouldn't be this good without the amazing cast of characters. And honestly, I've seen a lot of opinions online of people saying that this is the best Xenoblade Chronicles cast of party members, and I also pretty much agree with that. There's so much to love about these characters, and they all have their moment to shine. Every single one of these 6 party members have a really powerful moment where they shine in this story, so I really like that. I'm gonna go more in detail on the characters I like more in my spoiler review, or my spoiler talk or whatever, but I will say some of my favorite characters were Mio and Taion, and of course Uni is a fan favorite, really funny character. All 6 of these characters just great, and that's not even including the heroes. The heroes are so cool because they're supporting characters, but their quests add so much to the world of Ionios and the just Xenoblade mythos itself, and it's almost as if these hero quests are genuinely a part of the narrative itself, because they're so well woven into the characters' lives and backstories, and these quests are really good and very well integrated into the narrative. So that's a big plus I have with this game. I also want to quickly talk about the elephant in the room, or in this case I'll call it the Rotbart in the room. Ionios itself. Yeah, it's a blend of both the worlds of Xenoblade 1 and 2. Without going into too much spoilers, I will say, as a Xenoblade fan who's played both 1 and 2, I loved the references in this game. I really, truly did. But I made this tweet on Twitter a few weeks back saying, I'm glad that this wasn't Xenoblade References 3 instead of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. My biggest fear with this game was the fact that it would be riddled with random references and callbacks to the old games and not have its own dedicated story for the new and original characters to shine. I was happily wrong about this. So, when the developers say that you do not have to play Xenoblade 1 and 2 before 3, they're actually right. From what I've played over the past 5 years on the Nintendo Switch, Xenoblade 3 is amongst the most demanding yet high-performing games on the system. Monolithsoft, the developers of the Xenoblade series, are very talented at developing for Switch hardware. The devs at Monolithsoft optimized all 3 Xenoblade games to run very well for the Switch, but with some sacrifices in resolution and performance. Xenoblade 3 provides a larger world to explore, but also a higher fidelity experience with better visuals, higher quality animations and cutscenes, and a mostly consistent and smooth 30 FPS that vary occasionally and often never drops below. All this is a marvel to behold on the somewhat outdated Nintendo Switch hardware. I wouldn't have thought such expansive and detailed environments could run so well on the Nintendo Switch. In Xenoblade 3, you explore boundless plains, arid deserts, mysterious forests, and a massive sea. Ionios is separated by its many large regions, and some regions have multiple locations within them. For example, the Forest region near the beginning of the game contains the locations of Aegis Wilderness, Danag Desert, Rebby Flats, and Raybell Tablelands, all in one region with very little to no loading screen separating them. I did mention this a little bit earlier, but the animations within the cutscenes and combat feel so detailed. Character facial expressions and simple movements, for example like Mio's ears perking up with excitement, truly bring these characters to life. Xenoblade 3 improves series realism with proper lip syncing regardless of language dub as well. A great improvement from what it was in Xenoblade 2. Combat animations are so much fun to watch. Talent arts zoom in on the characters to highlight their powerful attack, and chain attack animations are over the top and just downright badass. Of course, the art style is amazing. It's a good balance between the realism of Xenoblade 1 and the anime aesthetic of Xenoblade 2. One final presentation thing I want to mention is the user interface and the user experience of the game. Tutorials are so much better. They're very well explained and very accessible, and you can actually reread the tutorials and practice some of the battle mechanics in VR training. Very cool. One small downside is that they can be a little too hand-holdy. The menu interface is clean, and your character loadout is very well presented. Also, your typical Xenoblade combat HUD is back, but this time a little different than the other games. Once you understand how things work, the interface feedback feels really nice and satisfying. If you noticed, I'm rushing this part a little, and it's because I am. I'll have a dedicated Xenoblade UI video coming in the future, so be on the lookout for that. Overall, Xenoblade 3 is a visual delight and an artful and lively experience. Monolithsoft has put a lot of care into the graphics, performance, animations, user interface, and art style. Alright, let's start off with the combat. So each prior Xenoblade game has its own gimmicks, and Xenoblade 3 has its fair share of those as well. Xenoblade 3's gimmicks include classes, heroes, and Ouroboros interlinking. Oh yeah, and also, the coolest and most in-depth chain attacks in the entire series. So let's start off with classes. Classes are the centerpiece of Xenoblade 3 combat. Classes can be either originating from Kevis or Agnes. This dictates how your arts will recharge. Timed recharge for Kevis characters and auto attack recharge for Agnes characters. Your starting class can be changed at any time at a certain point in the story once additional classes are unlocked, and they can be leveled up to receive perks like Master Arts and Skills. There is no limitation on which class you can change to with a certain character. Each class lands in the category of attacker, healer, or defender, and this helps you build a diverse team that can counter weaknesses and tackle specific enemy types. And no two classes are the same. So for example, even though they're both classified as defenders, Lanz's Heavy Guard class will play very differently from Xion's Guardian Commander class. Classes are received either through story completion or through hero quests, and I always loved getting a new hero and jumping into their class and trying it out. Oh yeah, and speaking of heroes, heroes are optional but are dedicated to their own specific hero quest. Do the quest, get the hero, and more importantly, get their new class. Hero quests are fully voiced and are very important in building the world of Ionios and its many eccentric, enigmatic, and colorful characters. It's nice to have additional allies help your team fight against the enemies of Ionios. Ouroboros interlinking is very cool, though honestly not my favorite part of combat overall in this game. I still think turning into a giant mech is awesome, but I felt as though some of the attacks felt a little slow and the movement was just a little bit clunky compared to the smooth auto attacks, dashing, and art cancelling of your favorite class. Also, the AI party interlinking can be a little stupid at times. What's nice is that options are available to fix problems like this, but it's still annoying nonetheless. I hardly used Ouroboros interlinking while in combat other than to just get guaranteed art combos while in level 3 and just dish out extra powerful damage to take down unique monsters or bosses. Though it is a very cool mechanic present in the game, I just personally didn't use it very much. So as you can see, combat can get pretty hectic from all you guys have seen in all the gameplay stuff I've been showing you. Believe it or not, that's not the only thing that you can do within the combat of Xenoblade 3. Take a look at this. Chain attacks are an absolute blast in this game. They've evolved so much from the simplicity of Xenoblade 1 to the smashing of elemental orbs with blade combos in Xenoblade 2. In 3, we have an entire mini-game dedicated to strategically choosing a chain order, planning out fusion arts with specific character roles to maximize a damage ratio beyond 100%, and receiving a bonus from your chosen chain order to maximize damage dealt onto your enemy. Heroes also have their own heroic chain effects to mix up the tide of battle and add to your arsenal of strategies. And of course, you can also use Ouroboros chain orders to dish out insane damage numbers after picking the correct chain orders, and wow, do they look absolutely amazing. One cool thing you can do in Xenoblade 3 is you can switch characters within combat, and this is a series first, believe it or not. It's very easy and very quick, and it really helps if your AI party members are not doing what you need them to do. If you need an immediate heal, revive, or a quick addition to your art combos, just switch to your desired character and use the art. My issue with this is since I was switching and swapping classes so much between my party members, I couldn't really keep track of the arts of some of my team members. Like, for example, if I inflicted break and didn't get an immediate topple, I was sometimes confused on who to switch to. And most of the time, I just wanted to stick to the character I was controlling at that time because I just liked the character playstyle. It's just a personal preference for me, but then again, the option is available and it's a great step up in the series and a great addition. Outside of combat, a character's loadout can be bolstered with master skills and arts learned from other classes, gems which help with class-specific roles, and accessories that help counter character and class weaknesses. It's always a lot of fun to experiment with these to customize and build the best units within the team. Also, let's talk about side quests real quick. The side quests are the best they have ever been in this series, outside of Xenoblade X, which I've still not beaten yet. But the side quests in Xenoblade 3 are very in-depth and go into the struggles of the residents of these colonies. You help people overcome fears, kick off hobbies and careers, and come to terms with the loss of comrades, friends, and family. They're truly rewarding and genuinely fun to do in the middle of the fast-paced and high-octane story. Overall, the customization of player character builds, the vast options available, and interesting additions to combat, and the very, very in-depth and engaging side quests make Xenoblade 3 a gameplay powerhouse. The Xenoblade Chronicles series has music that is truly breathtaking and beautiful. Composed by some of the best composers in Japanese video games, many Xenoblade and JRPG veterans return for the third entry in the series. Here's what I think about the OST overall. Honestly, it's fantastic. It really, truly is. The battle themes are out of this world. But one way the OST kind of lacks a little is in the cutscene event themes and the area themes. For reference, Xenoblade 2 has one of my favorite video game soundtracks of all time, and that's because of the truly jaw-dropping pieces that play in areas like Morardain, Araya, and Tantal. Also, some of the cutscene themes like The Tomorrow with You and Elysium in the Dream are just so moving and emotional. So, with this whole thing with the OST, in my opinion, I don't necessarily think it's disappointing or bad, or no, it's still amazing. I just personally think I like Xenoblade 2's better, and because, like, the thing with the area themes is the area themes in Xenoblade 2 were just so either bombastic and expressive, or like had some really nice melodic symphonic movements that were a part of the experience that just made you feel so well connected to these areas in Xenoblade 2. It's kind of what I was missing in 3. Not that the area themes are straight up bad or anything. Milik Meadows is amazing, and some other area themes, which I can't really say because of spoilers, were very good and really added to the experience, but I think Xenoblade 2 just did it a little better. And I think that's also attributed to the fact that Xenoblade 2 is a much more lighthearted, whimsical kind of game, whereas Xenoblade 3 is more of a serious, kind of darker experience. So that's not necessarily a fault to the game, it's just a kind of a nitpick I had. But when it comes to my favorite tracks, I will say my 3 favorite tracks in the game are probably The Weight of Life, which is the emotional cutscene theme, like engage the enemy and counterattack. Agnes Battle is one of my favorite battle themes in the series now, and of course the infamous and somewhat controversial yet very catchy Chain Attack theme. Just love that song so much. So miscellaneous thoughts and like just random nitpicks, I guess. I did talk about Ouroboros interlinking and the OST, some slight nitpicks I had. Another nitpick I had, I guess, is whenever I switched a class, it was just annoying to have to go back, all the way back, and see, do I have the master arts and skills and gems and accessories I want? Big thing, just something I had to get used to, which was slightly annoying. One more kind of nitpick and somewhat of a complaint I have is, I did talk about how the tutorials are very handholdy. It was very, very handholdy, and this is coming from someone who has played all the other games. There are a few parts, like one where you're shopping, and it basically says, go here, select the buy option, scroll down, select this item, click A on this item, purchase this item, go to your menu, go to your character, and equip this item. And I'm like, that's all very self-explanatory, but also, what if I want to buy another item? What if I want to not buy that item that I just got? Or what if I don't even want to equip it? And when it came to switching classes, in Chapter 2, you get to a point where you can switch your classes with some of your party members. It basically stopped you and said, go to Noah on the character select screen, go to classes, go to Mio's class, select the Zephyr class, and use the Zephyr class. And it did that for every single one of the 6 characters, and that whole tutorial segment was just very annoying, but whatever. I think it was, I personally think it was annoying because I think that they could have found a better balance between the handholdiness and the proper explanations, because the explanations are very good, very, very well explained and all that, but I just think the handholdiness was a bit too much. So I think they kind of stepped a little bit too far into the right direction, just in my opinion. And I will say, everything that Xenoblade 3 did in terms of tutorials is leagues and miles better than whatever the heck we got in Xenoblade 2. One final thing I want to touch on is exploration. It was very cool. Like I said, that some of these regions are so massive, there's like 4 locations within them. But there were some inconsistencies, like some locations were massive, like Fornus was huge, and then some later locations later down into the game were just a little smaller. And that's just, that's not really that big of an issue. The fact that Ionios was separated with regions itself added to the grander scope of this game, so that was nice. I love the monolithsoft open world magic touch they put into this game, of course, like they do with all their games. Of course, very well designed vistas and locations and landmarks and terrain and just all that. Very well designed. But there's so much to do in the world, kind of like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. There's so much to do. There's supply drops to find. There are monster skirmishes you can take part of. There are side quests to find, side quests to do. There are enemies to fight, unique monsters, elite monsters. There are soldier husks that you can send off as Noah and Mio as your offseers. Just, there's so much to do in these open worlds, and you just never get bored. Whether it be exploring the amazing environments, admiring the beautiful views and vistas, or just interacting with the environment itself, there's a lot to do in this open world. I just loved it. Yeah, keep it up, monolithsoft. Awesome open worlds. Alright, so here's the verdict, I guess. So everyone's gonna ask me, so Nish Quick, what's the score? 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 7 out of 10, whatever. What is it? I guess I could give you guys a score, but instead of giving you a score, I will leave you with this. I'm choosing my words very carefully here. So I played this game for about a month. My opinions can obviously change, but this is where I sit right now. I think this game, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, in terms of quality, polish, features, just the whole entire package, I think, is very comparable and very up there in terms of Nintendo Switch quality. It's up there with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I think. And everyone's gonna be like, wait, what are you talking about? Breath of the Wild is like your game. You always say game of the generation, game of the decade, whatever, genre defining. I think it still is. I think in many ways Breath of the Wild is a much more approachable game than Xenoblade 3. But I think there are some things that Xenoblade 3 definitely does better than Breath of the Wild. One thing is the story and the narrative. I haven't experienced a story this good in a game in a very long time, honestly. And Breath of the Wild, unfortunately, compared to the other 3D Zelda games, didn't have that good of a... Well, the story wasn't bad, I'll say it wasn't bad, it just wasn't as involved as the other 3D games. And that's just the way it was structured, and that's alright, but Xenoblade 3 has a very well-paced, well-written, well-acted, and very emotional and impactful story with great themes, characters, moments, all that stuff. So I think that's one step above. And another thing is, this might sound a little silly, but Breath of the Wild was originally a Wii U game, and then, of course, dual release with the Nintendo Switch. So it released on both the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch at the same time. I'm not saying that Breath of the Wild was held back by the Wii U's hardware, but what I'm more or less trying to say is Xenoblade 3 just pushes the Switch to its limits in terms of power and gameplay mechanics and so many things happening on screen at once, and it all works. So I really think that Xenoblade 3 is a testament to how remarkable of a system this is. I guess I turned it on by mistake, whatever. But I think in terms of a performance and powerhouse showcase, I think Xenoblade 3 is where it's at, and it's a testament to how amazing these developers are at making these games. And honestly, it just makes me very excited for the future of the Switch and the future of Nintendo, because as we know, monolithsoft is working with Nintendo on the sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, because they did with the first game. So I'm very excited to see what monolithsoft has in store for us with Breath of the Wild sequel. So yeah, I think Xenoblade 3 is definitely in my top 3 Switch games. I think it's one of the best Switch JRPGs, along with like SMT5, Fire Emblem Three Houses, so many other amazing JRPGs on the system. I think as of now, it might probably be my favorite Xenoblade game, above Xenoblade 1 and 2, which is hard to believe because Xenoblade 1 was like one of my favorite video games I'd ever played. And now this came along and just made everything better. So, it certainly has been a wild ride, this passage of fate. For us Xenoblade, Switch, and JRPG fans, it's been so awesome seeing this game and series get the love and attention it deserves, and so many new fans entering the series before the release of Xenoblade 3 or even after. I think Xenoblade is one of Nintendo's most special franchises. It's heavily story-driven with a fantastic narrative, but it's also incredibly gameplay-driven and pushes the boundaries of the open-world JRPG genre. The music, level, and world design and overall polish these games have are truly unforeseen, and it's all thanks to the amazing, talented, and driven developers working at monolithsoft. Especially Mr. Tetsuya Takahashi himself, who finally got to conclude his Xenoblade Chronicles trilogy saga. I guess that wraps it up. If you guys love the Switch, if you guys like RPGs, if you guys like good stories in video games, check this game out, pick it up, play it. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. Thank you for sticking around till the end of this video. I don't know how long this will be, and I hope it isn't too long. But yeah, it's Nishquick signing off. Have a good day, and go play Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Later.